Today I'm going to walk you guys through my bushcraft slash gun belt setup, so stay with me. Years ago when I initially started camping, I was already carrying a gun in everyday life, so that was a non-negotiable. I needed to have that with me, or wanted to have that with me. But I also had other things I wanted to carry with me too, being a knife, axe, dump pouch, things like that into the woods. So what I initially started doing was just threading everything onto just my everyday carry belt. So you can kind of see everything's just threaded on. And it carries fine, that works okay. But the biggest drawback to this is when I wanted to take all this stuff off to sit down and rest or lay down or whatever, then I had to literally thread everything off. And likewise, on the other side of that, when I wanted to get back up and go back to work, I had to pick everything up and thread everything back on. So that was just no good. That was irritating. I didn't like it. So that pushed me into looking for another option. So I started looking in the bushcraft world, bushcraft community type stores for an option for carrying stuff out in the woods. And the options I was finding was basically this. Now this is not a great example. This is a pretty flimsy belt, but in general, it's just a heavy duty, thick leather belt that you would put all your stuff onto and wear over top of the regular belt you're wearing to hold your pants up. This is what this option looks like. You just have your over belt that you've got everything threaded onto. And this works, and this gives you that ability to take this belt off and just set everything to the side if you want to sit down. So that is nice about this, but this also has a pretty big problem. The first issue I have with this type of setup, with this type of belt, is that just being a slick leather belt, things can move around. So oftentimes I'd be working, I would find that, like, say my saw, for example, was slid way back to the back. And I did not like that, especially having a gun. I want my gun to be in the exact same place every time. I don't want it sliding and moving around. So that's the first problem. The next problem is that this over belt interferes with and actually starts sitting on top of the belt that you're wearing to hold your pants up. So now I have all this weight on this belt that's actually pushing down on this belt, which is pushing down on my pants. So you're often going to find that your pants are just getting pushed down and you're constantly pulling your pants up and readjusting your pants. And that was the biggest irritant with this setup and the biggest issue. So just to hit on a few things with this type of belt setup, you can fix the issue of things sliding around with some belt keepers. You can get on these, and I've even seen lots of different bushcraft options with belts like this that have suspenders, leather suspenders, so you can actually fix the issue of this belt sitting too hard on your regular belt and pushing your pants down. But a big issue for me was wanting to carry a gun into the woods. So these are really not optimized for that, even with the suspenders and the belt keepers, because the suspenders will help the weight pushing down in your pants. But what you have to do is wear this belt up a little bit higher so that it's not actually sitting on this belt. Well, in doing so, it's bringing the gun up higher. And I don't want a gun, way up here. I want it down on my hip or on my leg almost. Because I'm going out into the woods, I can carry a little bit more overtly and don't have to be quite as concealed with it. So, and I wanted a holster with active retention. So a bit more of a robust holster and a bit more of a better belt system that actually works around my gun a little bit better. So those are the reasons that this type of system I wasn't a fan of. So after looking through all of the bushcraft type options that I could find and not really finding anything I was satisfied with, I started looking at the tactical brands, tactical side of things, gun belts and such. And that's when I started to kind of find what I was looking for that was really going to work for me. Those of you that are into guns, into firearm stuff, are going to be familiar with this most likely. But the bushcraft world, or bushcraft people, probably won't be as familiar with this type of thing if they're not also, into that gun culture. But here's what I found, and this has worked quite well for me. So it's a two-piece belt setup. You've got your outer belt that just velcros onto your inner belt, and they're both relatively rigid. So you can see how both of them, well, this one is pretty old now, but once you put them together, it forms a pretty rigid platform for you to carry stuff on. So moving to an actual gun belt that is built for this sort of thing finally gave me a good platform that I could put on a more robust, legit holster for going out into the woods and wearing this overtly. So now I've got something with active retention that's going to protect my gun when I'm out and about. And this is similar in a way to like the leather belt option, that this is now kind of becomes like an overbelt. But there's one key difference with this two-piece belt setup that I'm going to show you now. So once you just Velcro this outer belt right over top of this inner belt, instead of this overbelt now actually kind of sitting on this and pushing your pants down, it's sitting perfectly in line with this belt. So there's no interference. So that when you're bending over and whatnot, you don't have two different belts bumping into each other. So there's no interference here. And you can pull the inner belt tight, but then this outer belt, I can actually pull it tight enough too, that now both belts are actually helping to hold up my pants. So now this weight, instead of pushing down on my pants, both belts are actually being used to hold my pants up. So now I don't have that issue anymore of my pants wanting to be pushed down by the weight on this belt. So this is a big improvement over the leather belt option. And while actually holding all this weight better and being more comfortable to work in, I still retain the same benefit of being able to just quickly take this off if I want to sit down or lay down or anything, and it's just as quick to put right back on. So this fixes all the issues that I was having with, you know, threading stuff onto my regular belt and with the Bushcraft belt options. So real quick before I break down my actual belt and the stuff I have on it and tell you guys what those things are, obviously you can tell through this video that a big theme for me was wanting something that worked well around my gun. So a gun, number one, is what I wanted to carry, and then my woodworking tools. The things I found I wanted to have on me when I walked away from my backpack or I was building shelters or doing things: knife, axe, and saw. I always needed all three of those things. So I wanted to carry all three of those tools on my belt. I also needed a small pouch, gathering tinder, finding cool things, whatever, or just carrying even like my water bottle. So a dump pouch on there, and then just a tourniquet, just for, you know, major bleeds, whatever. I don't have just a regular first aid kit, just the tourniquet on my belt. So those are the things I found I wanted with me all the time when I was walking around doing things. So I'm going to show you guys how the options I came up with for actually carrying those things that I've been very happy with. All right, so starting on my left side, I've got my knife in a cross draw fashion just because I like reaching across and pulling it out. It's a little bit more ergonomic to me than actually pulling it straight up from my right hip. So I've got my knife in a cross draw fashion. This is a Pathfinder Knife Shop Kepart XL. I've liked it quite a bit. It's a good knife. This Kydex sheath for it is a custom sheath that I had made at a shop here in my hometown. I'm sure you guys can find any person who works Kydex just to make a sheath like this. This hatchet holster is from Review Outdoor Gear. That's the brand, and it's called their hatchet and hammer holster. They have different sizes. This is the large size because I carry a larger axe in the winter time, and I wanted to be able to carry both my small and large axe on the same setup. So this is a large size. Moving to my saw pouch, this pouch is from Badger Claw Outfitters, and then this dangler is from Badger Claw as well. Initially, I just had this pouch threaded right onto the belt, but I didn't like that because I couldn't articulate the pouch at all, and it made it kind of difficult for me reaching back to pull this straight up. So now with this dangler on here, I can kind of angle it this way and pull it out as I'm working. So I found the dangler to be a nice addition to that. And then my dump pouch is actually from Badger Claw as well. This is their, I think, small gathering pouch or small dump pouch. They have bigger options, but I didn't want anything too big, and I can put like a 32-ounce bottle in here and carry it just fine. So that's as big as I've ever needed. Moving on around, this would be on my right hip. This is a Safariland. This is a 7376 RDS ALS from Safariland. I had to stop the video and go check to make sure I was saying that right. But it's got the hood here to protect your red dot, and it's flashlight compatible. So yeah, and the ALS means an automatic locking system, so that when this goes in, it won't come out until you depress that thumb lever right there to actually unlock it. So, and I've got that on a 2-inch low CUBL. Sorry, I'm having to try to remember this. Yeah, but this is a low ride CUBL, and having the 2-inch on a 1.5-inch belt gives me a little bit of play here. So when I'm moving around and this is you know, attached to my leg with a leg strap, it can articulate just a little bit, so it makes it more comfortable. The thigh strap is a T-Rex Arms thigh strap that's made for these Safariland holsters, and then just a Cat Gen 7 tourniquet in a North American Rescue tourniquet pouch. The belt is a Lead Devil 1.5-inch belt. I think I've already said that, but anyway, so that's the whole belt setup. That's everything I've got on here. So I wanted to show you guys my hatchet holster here. Like I said, they make different sizes of these, this company does, but I got the large one because it'll fit my smaller hatchet, and then in the winter time when I want to switch out for something a little bit bigger, I can still carry my axe with me when I leave camp. If you get the smaller option, there's a good chance that these bigger axes will not fit in there. Like I said, when I first got into camping and I was trying to set up a belt setup for myself to be able to carry these tools with me, I watched a lot of videos on YouTube and I never really could find exactly what I was looking for, especially people talking about holsters and carrying guns in the woods. For some reason, it just doesn't seem like a lot of bushcraft people do that, but I like my guns, I like to carry them with me, so my journey to finding something that worked well for bushcraft stuff and also functioned well with carrying a gun in the woods, this is where I've landed, and I've been using this for years now, and I love it. So I hope this helps some of you guys that maybe have the same problems that I did when I started into all this. So thanks for watching.